Well, we are meeting here under the chairship of Sri Lanka, as you've pointed out. They have taken over the chairship from Bangladesh for a 2-year period, starting 2023 until 2025, and India has taken over the vice chair post. Now, Sri Lanka has chosen a topic which will govern the chairship for the next 2 years, strengthening the Indian Ocean region and reinforcing the Indian Ocean identity. Now, of course, we have been meeting the past 2 days at the level of senior officials, as is traditional, to prepare for the Council of Ministers meeting that will be held tomorrow, the 11th of October. Now, specifically as far as South Africa is concerned, and also the meeting that we have tomorrow, one of the first agenda items is for the ministers to consider the report of the strategic dialogue review, the 25-year review meeting that we had in June this year at the Secretariat in Mauritius. Now, you'll recall that last year at the Council of Ministers meeting, the ministers endorsed the idea that IORA has a strategic review of its 25 years of existence. And that was the proposal by South Africa, and it was endorsed by the Council of Ministers. So the meeting that took place at the Secretariat in June this year was co-chaired by South Africa and the Secretary General. Now, it was the first time since the founding of IORA in 1997 that we brought together all entities of IORA, all of our member states, our dialogue partners, our academic group, as well as the business forum. It was the first inclusive meeting to review the activities of IORA since its inception in 1997, the journey we have traveled, both in terms of the gains we have made and the deliverables that we have attained over these past 25 years, and also some of the challenges that we have experienced as an association. And this helped us, the outcome of the discussions, to craft what we call the IORA Vision 2030 and beyond. And this document was endorsed by the Committee of Senior Officials meeting early yesterday, and it will now be put forward to the ministers for their consideration. Now, this is a very important document because it brings sharp focus on the journey ahead in terms of where IORA is going, how we can better maximize on the 6 key priority areas and the true cross-cutting issues that forms the agenda of the IORA, and how we can ensure that there are tangible deliverables in the work that we do through interaction between member states as well as with our dialogue partners. And I think this is key to ensuring that IORA become a people-centered IORA and speaks to the developmental agenda of the organization.
So, Prof, South Africa is one of the founding members of IORA. Do you think that the late Nelson Mandela's vision is being realized, considering that he's one of the people who proposed the formation of IORA?
Well, look, President Mandela had this idea of creating this organization way back in 1995. Now, if you recall, in 1995, the global community did not pay particular attention to the ocean space. It is only in the past, I would say, 2 decades or so, that the ocean space has come to occupy center stage, including the Indian Ocean. So I think President Mandela was a visionary, that way back in 1995 he could see the value and strategic importance of this strategic geopolitical, geoeconomic space that we refer to as the Indian Ocean. Now, in more recent times, a number of countries have been speaking of the Indo-Pacific, a seamless continuity between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. And you will see increasingly the global center stage in terms of geopolitics, in terms of geoeconomics, and in terms of sustainability is focused on the Indo-Pacific, with the Indian Ocean being at the center of it. Now, I think we are fortunate that President Mandela, through his vision, encouraged the formation of this organization, because today the Indian Ocean Rim Association is the apex Indian Ocean body, and it is very strategically placed in terms of ensuring that we continue that the Indian Ocean space is a space of cooperation, of development, of peace and security, and of course ensuring the sustainability of the ocean environment going forward, all of which is critical not only to the 200 million plus citizens that depend on the nourishment from the Indian Ocean, but also for the global community at large. The Indian Ocean space is a public global good, and all of us, not just from within the Indian Ocean region, but including the global community, we have a responsibility to ensure the sustainable use of the ocean and to ensure that we fully harness the opportunities for the benefit of all, and that it's not controlled by a few, and that this space remains a space, a zone of peace, as it was declared in 1971 through the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 2632. And I think South Africa and the African continent has an important role to play, because we must understand that the eastern coast and the southern coast of Africa is washed by the Indian Ocean and has been since the dawn of civilization a very important space for our prosperity and development. Well, it's important that you ask this question. I referred to the 25-year strategic review dialogue that we had in Mauritius. What we did, the 9 African countries that are part of the IORA, 23 member states, we had a back-to-back meeting of just the African countries to look at the implications of the IORA Indo-Pacific outlook that was adopted by the Council of Ministers last year. What does this mean for Africa, and how can Africa interact with this document that we are party to? And how can we have a common approach from the African countries, an integrated approach? How can we ensure that the AU's program, the Decade of the Ocean and Seas 2015-25, the African Integrated Maritime Strategy, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, especially in terms of the ocean economy, all of this works for the benefit of Africa, and especially the IORA member states of Africa being at the forefront of this. That is why South Africa, together with Tanzania, we convened this meeting, and we have an outcome document based on that meeting in terms of what we envisage should be part of the integrated IORA agenda in terms of ensuring that the African continent and the African member states of IORA also benefit through tangible programs. A number of programs have been conducted through the Secretariat, for example, programs on climate change, capacity building programs. We have, for example, a development program that is funded by the UAE in looking at the development challenges in Somalia, for example, also in Yemen. And this program has been ongoing now for a number of years. So you have very dedicated Africa-specific programs that are funded through the special fund and in partnership with our other IORA members as well as with dialogue partners. Now, one of the decisions that will be taken at the Council of Ministers meeting tomorrow is that we are now looking at having coordinating countries from the member states to work with the dialogue partners. South Africa has been asked to be the coordinating country of Russia as a dialogue partner. Now, we've already had initial discussions with our colleagues from Russia yesterday to look at how we can work with Russia in addressing some of the developmental cooperation programs in IORA, but specifically focused on Africa and the ocean economy. So this gives us another opportunity to harness the expertise that Russia has in this sector and to work with us for the benefit of IORA member states, specifically in the case of Africa. Well, look, joint military exercise is something that we do with countries that we have strong bilateral relations. Now, apart from the bilateral exercises, we also have military exercise with India and Brazil under the IPSA maritime agreement, which is done once every 2 years. So I think having these joint military exercises, in this case with India, a fellow Indian Ocean member state, helps us to also learn from each other, to develop capacity, and to also harness our skills in terms of ocean military presence, in terms of our navies. And I think India is a strong partner of South Africa. We have much to learn from India, as much as they have to learn from us. But also the joint responsibility of being fellow Indian Ocean countries to ensure peace and security in the Indian Ocean. It's important for us to have fit for purpose navies that are well endowed, and where we can constantly join in joint naval exercises to ensure that we are always well informed, and we are constantly learning and reinforcing our capacities. Well, IORA have the category of, firstly, you are a full member, and full membership is only open to those countries that are littoral states of the Indian Ocean. That is, their shores are washed by the Indian Ocean. That is why we have 23 full members, all of which are from the Indian Ocean. Dialogue partners can be from outside the Indian Ocean, but countries that have an interest in the Indian Ocean. You must understand the Indian Ocean is your third largest ocean, but over 60% of global energy traverses through the Indian Ocean. Some of your most important sea lanes are in the Indian Ocean. Some of your most important choke points, like the Suez Canal, is in the Indian Ocean, which is major global arteries for trade, for the movement of goods. And therefore, having dialogue partners also ensures that we can work with all countries in a cooperative manner. And having these countries as dialogue partners also ensures that they also take responsibility in terms of the preservation of the Indian Ocean as a global public good, to ensure environmental sustainability, and to ensure peace and security in the ocean, that it does not become an ocean of conflict, but remains a zone of peace. But the dialogue partners also that we have are mainly countries from the developed north, and they have much value to add in terms of technology transfer, capacity building, joint cooperation programs with us, especially in the area of climate change, in the area of green energy, in terms of harnessing the ocean economy. They are more advanced than most of us. So looking at joint programs in these areas benefits both sides. So having dialogue partners also has its benefits.